Hey y'all, welcome back to Pure South Pastures. I'm going to start right here at the beginning and say forgive me for the wind. I'm trying to block the microphone where it's out of the wind, but today's rough. So today I want to talk about something that's a little bit different. We've been the last couple days, last couple videos I've been showing you up where the cows are grazing. We've been moving them under pretty high density, and there's a lot of forage there. What I want to show you today is a different picture. As you can see behind me, I'm in a place where the grass isn't anything like that. Matter of fact, there's very little grass here. Some channels I think that I watch and I love to watch them, but I think they're not always telling you the full story. I never want to be a channel that's only showing you the good. I also want to show you some of the other things that we're dealing with. And so today we're going to go to some different places on the farm that look completely different from where we've been grazing the last couple of days. And I want you to see just the reality of some other places that when we get here, it's going to be a lot different than where we are up there right now. So hang out with me today. I'm so glad you're part of this journey with me. If you love this channel, a lot of the people who watch our channel aren't subscribers, and I would appreciate it if you just hit the subscribe button. We've been picking up a lot of people in the last couple of days. Feel free to comment, hit the like button. All those things help us in the algorithm so that more people can see our content. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here. Let's get into it. So where we are currently is our newest piece of property, and it's attached to also some leased property that we picked up at the same time, because when we purchased this piece of property, it cut off access to the previous person who rented the leased ground. And so it gave us access to both. Excuse my hand there. As you can see right behind me, there is a brand new fence that when we purchased the property, part of the agreement was that that fence would go in. This used to be a 130-acre piece of property. We purchased the 32 acres on this end this way. And so they still have the previous landowner still has the property going all the way out to the highway there. It's a long, narrow piece of property, beautiful piece of property. But as you've heard me say before, this was there was really not a lot of management. It was just cows were on it on the whole 130, whatever it is, for just all the time, constant. And so we're in the process of trying to give it rest. We in the way that we're managing and just our cash flow system, it doesn't make sense for us to use inputs to try to increase the soil. We're not doing any kind of amendments. We're not fertilizing or liming, and we probably could get a jump. We could jump start some stuff if we did that, but it just doesn't. In what we're doing, it just doesn't make sense financially, and so it's going to take a little bit longer. That's why what we're doing with the cattle and the way they're grazing is such a big deal, because we're trying to build soil with the animals instead of purchasing inputs and putting them on. But when we get here, it's just going to be a different story in the way we graze, and I'll show you. This property goes all the way to the wood line, and then you can't see over here, but there's a big bio that is the boundary over here, and then there's this low creek right here, and then this hillside over here, this piece of property over here is part of it as well. And grass is growing a lot better over there because we fed hay over there last winter, and we fed hay out here this winter, and we're going to go see the results of that in just a moment. But let me flip the camera around right here. I want to show you this. I'm going to try not to do a whole lot of moving so you won't get sick, but you can see, I mean, compared to where we were up there where the cows are, which was knee deep and close to waist deep in some places. Look at this. I mean, it's just depleted soil, and so it's very. I mean, and it's just not even anything that really is a desirable forage. And this is probably, as far as this hillside right here, you get a little bit of forage up here, and then there's kind of a line right out in here, and it begins to get better that way. And we fed a lot of hay out there this year, but I just want you to see. I mean, we're not going to be able to do any kind of mob grazing here. I mean, it just isn't going to work. As you get closer down to this bottom, it gets a little bit better, but up here, not so much. So I'm thinking, my thinking is right now, we're just going to skip over this. We're going to let it rest. We're going to give it more time. We did graze it last year, and I mean, there's just nothing here, and they just end up taking it down to even more of nothing. And so we may run a paddock right along the creek. There's some fescue and some ryegrass down here in the bottom. we may allow them to have access to that, but then just get them out to these trees and then over the hill, and we'll see what's out there in just a second. So part of the reason I think this video is important is because it shows, you saw, I mean, we were just right over there on that hillside. This is where we started feeding hay, and we were rolling it out this way all winter long. And so we're right in here almost. Well, we stockpiled this, and they were eating a little bit of the stockpile all the way up through the end of December. And then in January, we started rolling out hay up here. And this is what I want you to see. Now, obviously, it's nothing like it was up at the where the cows are, but we do see the ryegrass that's coming up out of and you can see the residual here from where we had hay. I also want to show you that, we let this grow last year. We didn't graze it late in the summer, and then we came back and we grazed the stockpile that was left, and it was a lot of Bermuda, weeds, bahia, really kind of pretty marginal forage. We gave them a lot of protein in the winter to supplement them, but there still is a lot of residual because we let that grow last year. A lot of it was, I don't know, just pretty thick mat of stuff that was about 2 to 3 feet tall, and so I'll show you in just a minute that we have some of that. But as you can see, I mean, there's a lot of grass that's coming out of the hay that we fed this winter. And so that's the beauty of being able to feed hay, unroll it. Look at this Bermuda right here. Probably an anthill, if I had to guess. But man, that's a chunk of Bermuda. You don't see a lot of that yet out here. So you can see, I mean, this stuff is, it's getting pretty tall. It's not real thick. I mean, it's not a dense sward of grass. But when you don't have grass, when your grass is very minimal, period. And obviously we got these weeds, and stuff that the cattle won't eat. And so that's what we're dealing with. And we got 32 acres like this. There's some places down here in the bottom close to the fence. There's a lot of fescue because it's kind of a low right there. And so there's a little bit of grazing there. And otherwise, this is what we're dealing with, and it's not much a desirable forage. Let me walk over here real quick, and I'll show you some other places where we did unroll hay. Here we go. I think you can probably see, I mean, this is a nice swath of green grass, ryegrass, and you can see that there's just kind of a line of it where we rolled out a bale. You can see the residual of a bale right there. But in between, it's just not much here to graze. I will say this, later in the summer, these pastures do have a lot more warm season grass, mostly weeds, but stuff that really comes on later in the year. And so you're going to see that as well. See a big thistle over there. We don't have a whole lot of thistle, but go chop that down. I don't want them everywhere. Here's another patch where obviously we fed hay, and there's a residual or you can see that swath there where we rolled a bale out. It's pretty obvious. There's some places up here where I was out of town and we bale grazed some spots, and I think there's a whole lot of residual on those. I hadn't been down here in a while, but I think they're probably going to be some hay piles for a while. I wanted to look down in this bottom and see about there's normally quite a bit of different grass growing down here. So there will be for a while, there'll be no density and grazing back here if we even graze it at all. You can see we fed there, and there, and there one time while I was out of town. And one of the things that I don't really like about bale grazing like that is those spots are going to turn into weeds, and that's why we like to roll out. I think you're all in all, you're better off for us in our context, we're better to roll it out. So you can see here, this is just, there's no length to this at all, and I don't even know what kind of grass that is, but it's not. I guess maybe carpet grass. But anyway, I think there's some dog fennel coming up all over the place. There's some hairy vetch. Happy to have that. Cows love it. It is a legume. It does put nitrogen back in the soil. So glad that's out here. There's very little clover on these fields. When I find it, I'm just jumping for joy because there's not a lot of it out here, and so hope to change that over the next couple of years as we increase management. So it's pretty rough out here. The reason that this is a big deal is because the plan for grazing the way we're grazing, if you've paid attention to Jim Elizondo's school grazing thoughts for School of Thought, is to graze with high density, and then to leave for half the farm and leave half the farm as stockpile. That way, because you are grazing it low, if you get into drought, which we will, I mean, it's not if, it's just when. When you do get into drought or when you're in droughty conditions, if you have to come off of where you are, where you've been grazing high density for a period of time, then you have the rest of the farm as insurance for drought, but also for the winter time, so that you can graze hopefully close to 365 days a year instead of feeding hay in the winter time. So you're allowing half the farm to grow into stockpile, and then you flip flop each year. So the part that grew up this year and was stockpile, that will be where you graze next year. So the problem is, this was our stockpile last year for the fall, and it should be our grazing spot for the summer this year. So this is our half that we should be on, putting pressure on it and really grazing it, and there's just nothing here to graze. So we're back to grazing where we were last year, the front farm where we grazed last year. So I don't know if that's going to eventually, if there's going to be a point where this changes, where the scales tip out here this summer with warm season forages, and we can really get out here and graze it with some density and let that stockpile up there. Not exactly sure, but I just know that right now it's tough to say that we'll be able to flip-flop the parts of the farm. And so right now I'm just giving this a rest, and we're going to see what it'll do. So if you have any experience with that, and you've ever tried to bring back any of these old farms that they're just depleted, and you can speak to it, feel free to drop those things in the comments. I'm always looking to learn and hear from people who have experience in doing the things we're trying to do. So that's the reality where we are. So I do want you to see this. This is not hay, but this is grass that was here from last season that we allowed to grow up, and over the winter, cows were in here and they trampled it down, they ate some of it, and because we had so much grass, now we've got a layer, and it was just kind of a sorry, weedy grass. It wasn't anything special, but what it did is it provided a compost layer, a thatch layer, like we've been talking about up there where the cows are now, and that's covering the soil all around here. And so I am grateful for that. So I think this is going to be part of one of the ingredients that's going to help us to begin to move this thing forward and build back better soil. So I'm thankful for that. And you can see it's all over. This is not hay. This was standing grass that we allowed to stay there last fall. And so hopefully that's going to be beneficial for us. You can see it here as well. So we'll see. So this is our leased ground, and we've got about 20 acres of this. There's a little bit of it that looks quite a bit different than this, but for the majority of it, you're looking at it. You can see we mowed last fall, but I mean, when it comes to forage quality, this is just about what you got. I mean, it's not great. I'm thankful to have it, honestly, because it's right here next to our home farm. It butts up against the new farm, and you can hear the cows over there. They're ready to be moved. But it's a lot of broom sedge here, a lot of broom sedge. You see this other field over here is part of it as well. And then up there that's the barn that we fed hay by this winter, if you're watching this winter. And then up by the highway, it's a pretty good paddock up there. It's got a lot of fescue and some pretty nice forage in it. But for the most part, we got 20 acres of this. And it's just, a lot of it's broom sedge sprouting back out. And some other pretty marginal grass. So there's a little bit of everything in here. I mean, there is a little bit of clover, a little bit of buttercup, a little bit of vetch. But for the most part, it's there's some wispy, whatever that wispy grass is. Cows don't care for. And it looks like it might rain. Hearing thunder. So that's what we got on the lease ground. I know this. I know if you're not into forage and grazing, this may be the most boring video ever. But I also, as we're talking so much over the last few videos about how we're grazing, putting down the carbon and increasing density, I also wanted to show that all of our farm doesn't look like that. And I guess part of my YouTube journey is just going to be documenting how these farms grow and how we're able to increase soil productivity, and doing it probably without amendments, without purchasing anything to do it. So just using animals and management to make it happen. So as you can hear, the cows are ready to be moved. Thanks for hanging out and listening to me, my meanderings and ramblings about all kinds of different grass, and just the reality that everything isn't beautiful. Everything's not, a perfect situation. I'm thankful for what we have on the home farm, because I think we got quite a bit of grazing there still. But we got to figure out how we're going to do this as well. I would like to use some kind of similar method, but it's just not going to work to lay down that kind of biomass and that kind of stuff. So we'll see how it work out. But whatever we do, I hope you'll go along for the journey with us. Thanks so much for watching today. God bless you. Today's Saturday, tomorrow's Sunday. Find yourself in church tomorrow. Allow the Lord to work in your life. I'm so thankful for him, and I'm thankful for you. God bless you guys. Have a good one.